Welcome to Tech Thursday, and today we're going to be talking about domain names, email addresses, DNS, hosting accounts, cPanel, FTP access. We're going to create a Hello World page using ChatGPT to make a simple website live, and then we're going to show you the page. So to start out with, we need to get a domain name in GoDaddy, and I have a client who currently would like a domain name that they just asked me for. So we're going to go ahead and register that. And I go to GoDaddy.com, so we're going to type in venturamusic.org. This was their request. And then we're going to find out if that domain name is available, and it is actually for just $9.99. So we're going to click Make It Yours. Adding to cart. And then we're going to continue, and then it should prompt us to log in. And the domain protection is just an upsell, and they say it'll prevent hackers from stealing your domain. I've never encountered an actual issue. What happens is that they really lock down the domain name, which can make it difficult for people to assist you if you have a consultant or somebody helping. And we're not going to take the add-ons for their for the Microsoft email, because I'm going to show you a cheaper solution. And they're saying that it's $1.99 a month, but they trick you because they want you to prepay for several years. And oftentimes, if a website is really a marketing campaign from my perspective, and so a website is designed to accomplish a specific goal, and the domain names, you may not actually need the email for such a long period of time. And so you end up paying for something for more than what you're going to end up using. If the campaign doesn't work, you're going to want to end that campaign, and you don't want to have paid for 5 years worth of email if the campaign is only going to be running for a few months. So we're going to continue to cart without any of those add-ons. And we don't want to use the website builder that GoDaddy offers, because that again also locks out people from being able to help you. I've gone through a lot of hoops to try to disable that when I'm building a website for somebody. Now, $9.99, this is a special rate for me because I have I'm part of a bulk domain club. When you own hundreds of domains, you get a discounted price. So it's a little bit different. And again, we're not going to do the add-ons. They're going to still try to recommend that. And something important is that I actually selected 1 year, because they try to default to a lot more. And again, you may or may not need that. If it's your main brand, then you might want it for 5 to 10 years. But a lot of small businesses don't survive the first year. So I just don't think that it's always necessary to pay into the future, right? So $9.99, I'm ready to pay for this for my client. It should offer me the opportunity to log in now under my account. So I already have an account. I'm going to sign in. And my credentials are already saved. We're going to sign in. My payment method is already in here, so you may have to actually add your payment information. And of course, they have their two-factor authentication. I do recommend this. If you're working with a consultant, you want to add them as a delegate, which is under account settings. And I might do a video later on how to do that. You don't want to share this information because it may make your business vulnerable. Okay, so they've added taxes, got my payment information. Now I'm going to hit complete purchase. And we have the domain. Now it's important to do this in the steps, do these steps in the order that I'm showing them, and because there are actually things that happen outside of these platforms. As you're creating a domain name, it's actually, this information is going into a registry that is worldwide. So search engines and people all over the world are going to be able to see it. So it's important to do it in a certain process, because the DNS is like the directory. It's like the telephone book that these registries are going to be using to look you up. And if the information is added in the right order, your website can actually launch within minutes, less than an hour. But if it's done in the wrong order, sometimes it can take up to 24 hours. And so this is something that I've learned over the years, and that I'm sharing with you. So now that we've got our domain name, then the next step is actually going to create our email address. So I like to use a service called OpenSRS. And OpenSRS is kind of like a wholesaler for email addresses. The company is Tucows, and I don't recommend necessarily Tucows for hosting or domain purchase. GoDaddy seems to be the best from all of my experience. But now that we're in my OpenSRS account, we can create we have to actually, let's see, we're going to create an email. But before we create an email, this is a little confusing. I'm not going into the domains tab, I'm in the email tab where I'm going to add a domain, and that's because we've already registered it with GoDaddy. So I'm going to say Ventura Music to create the domain name. So this is going to allow us to create an email address at venturamusic.org. So I'm going to create this domain. Now this domain is added to my list of domains, of which I can create email addresses. And now I'm going to hit the plus sign, and I'm going to add, let's just say info. And you don't have to put the at domain. This is already within the context of Ventura Music, or you can see the name over here. And then we'll just create a simple password. I'll just say password 123. Now I like to store this information inside of Evernote just so that it's easy to get to. So I'm going to say info at venturamusic.org, and then that password 123 I get created. So now I have a record of that, and this gives this actually provides a webmail interface. The address for webmail is actually https mail.b.hostedemail.com. So if I go to that address, I'll be able to log in with that info. And just so you know, I'm going to delete this after the video, so don't waste your time trying to log in there. So we click add. And now we've got our new email address created. Now we have to actually go back into GoDaddy, and we're going to set up the email server inside GoDaddy so that it can actually receive email. And they're going to try to trick you now into using GoDaddy to create a website, and this actually locks your DNS and creates all kinds of problems. So it's very important that you say not now. Just say no. You don't want GoDaddy creating a website for you. It's very difficult to undo, and they're going to tempt you with all these things. You've got coming soon sites, customized. They're trying to promote all these different things. All of these actually make it difficult for you. So we're going to ignore all of this stuff, and we're going to go to, let's see, got to wait for the page to finish loading. The way web browsers work, you can't do anything usually until the page finishes, and they've loaded so much stuff into this page, depending on how fast your connection is. It's a little slower here because we're recording the video. So now I'm going to go down here to the quick links, and I'm going to click Manage Domain. See if it actually allows me to do that. And now we're seeing the control panel for the actual domain name, and we're going to click on DNS. And again, DNS, this is like that telephone book. This is where, in that registry where the world is looking where to send your email, where to find your website. It's all in this registry, and that's called DNS. It's called the Domain Name Server. And you can see these are all of these are called records. You've got an A record. This actually says where your website is, which is parked right now. That means it's kind of like in a holding pattern, and we're going to change that in a second. And then you've got C names, which are like aliases. This is also known as. So if they type in www, then it also goes to the A record. And then now we're going to be adding what's called an MX record. This is a mail exchanger record. And this is actually how the registry is going to tell the world to direct email for this domain. So we're going to create an MX record. We're going to use the @ sign so that it's synonymous with your main domain name. And then we have to give it a priority. The lower the number, the more priority it has. And sometimes people have more than one mail server. So this one's going to be 0. It's going to have the highest priority. And then I'm going to type in, this is the record for OpenSRS for the new domain. So we have to start out with MX, because it's a mail exchange record, dot, and then we're going to put the domain, venturamusic.org. But then we're going to type in cust, C-U-S-T, .b.hostedemail.com. And this is the custom server this is the server that knows that this is mail going to your domain name on OpenSRS. Very important. And then we're going to choose custom. I like it to be live right away. So I'll say 600 seconds. That's the minimum allowed. TTL means time to live. That's the amount of time. When you make a change here, you can tell it how long before that change is effective. And so a lower TTL means that it's ready sooner. And we're going to hit save. It's updating that record. And now you can see when we scroll down, now you can see the MX record has been added to the registry. So that means in about 5 minutes in about 10 minutes, when you send email to that info@venturamusic.org, it's actually going to be received. And so that's actually pretty quick, in 10 minutes. We just created a domain name. We just added an email address that's going to be receiving mail within 10 minutes. Isn't that awesome? So the next step, now, before you can build a website, you have to have a place for the website to live, and that's called hosting. And so we have to set up hosting, and I like to use a service called A2. And you'll notice that some of the images aren't loading here, and this is actually because I'm using the Catalina operating system on Mac, and some of these sites are using images that are a newer standard. It's actually not very user-friendly if you think about it, that someone would create a website that uses an image format that hasn't been around long enough that it shows up on every web browser. When you think about the user experience for your own websites, you probably want to stick to JPEG or GIF or PNG formats, because those have been around for 20 years, and they're going to be guaranteed to display on every website. But this format is probably AVIFF, or it's going to be WebP, which is a newer Google format, and it's not friendly to anything other than Google. So this is something to consider when you're planning out your own technology, and it's kind of a funny blind spot for these big companies to be doing this. They're trying to force the technology, but it also makes things obsolete. And I think in a society where we're rapidly throwing away technology that could be used, it's always fascinating to see how it's like a little bit of hypocrisy, in my opinion. So we're going to log into the A2 control panel. Verify that I'm a human being. Log in with the account. All right, and so now we have our active products and services. Oops, looks like I have a bill to pay. And so we're going to go into WHM. WHM is actually the main service that controls what's called cPanel. cPanel is what every domain is going to have if it's running on PHP, which is the language that the server uses to display the page in your browser. And there's a lot of different languages. There's Python, there's ASP, there's Ruby, there's Cold Fusion. HTML is kind of like the foundation with CSS. CSS is what determines the colors and the style on the page. But all of this has to run on a server that kind of digests it and then sends it to your browser. And for PHP, WHM is kind of the parent system that makes it easy for that. So here within WHM, we can see all the accounts that I've set up on this particular server. But here we're going to create a new account. But before we create this account, we actually want to, let's see. No, actually we're okay. So we'll create we'll start by adding the domain name venturamusic.org. Whoops. Autocorrect likes to put spaces between words, so you always keep an eye on that. And then our username will just be Ventura Music. And then we're going to have it recommend a password. So again, I'm going to delete this account after the video, so don't worry about recording any of this. We're going to accept the password that it created, and then I'm going to put in an email address for it to send me a copy. And what I like to do is take the settings as it creates the account. I'm going to take the settings and put those in Evernote also, so that I have a permanent record of them. This will just take a moment. Depending on how many sites you have on your server, this particular part of the process might be a little slow. So now I'm going to grab this, which has the password and the IP address, which is actually like the phone number or a street address where you would find the website in that registry. So we're going to paste it here, and then we're going to take this IP address, because this is the actual street address or phone number, and we're going to go into GoDaddy now, and we're going to change this parked to that number. And then that means that the whole world will be able to actually go to the website. So we update that, we keep that at 600 seconds, that's 10 minutes. We're going to hit save. And now when the world types in venturamusic.org, they're going to go to this address. And if we have our website there, then they're going to be able to see that website. So the next step, now that we have created this account, we're going to actually, we're actually going to go, after we've updated the DNS, now we can go to the control panel, which is called cPanel, and we can request, let's click these away, we can request the security certificate. Now that the IP address is in the domain, it'll qualify for the security certificate. And with cPanel, you can actually get them for free, whereas GoDaddy will probably try to charge you $100. So we just go to the security status widget. And what we're going to do is we're going to check venturamusic.org, and we're going to check the www.venturamusic.org. And we're going to click include during auto SSL. So turn that on. And now we're going to run auto SSL to actually get our security certificate. This security certificate is required to have the padlock up here in the URL, where you see up here at the very top of the screen, you see this little padlock next to the website address. That's the SSL certificate. So it'll just take a moment. And while it's doing that, we're now going to set up our FTP application. And so the FTP application is important because this is the tool that you use to interact with the files on your server. And so we're going to create the FTP account. I'm just going to create a simple one. We're going to call it, I usually put A2 because that's the host, and then venturamusic.org. We'll hit next. This program is called Traffic. For the Mac, it's made by Panic Software. And I'm going to paste that IP address. that we had before. And then I'm going to put in the username, Ventura Music. We're going to go back here. We're going to grab the password. And then we're going to put in the remote address. So the remote address is going to be where this program, when you log in to this FTP account, what folder do they put you in? And so that's actually going to be called public HTML. That's where you publish all of your files to. And we'll hit save. And there it is added at the bottom. And then when we double click it, now you'll see that we're actually in the account. You can see this empty folder here is where we're going to put our website files. Now, well known, this is actually where there's an encryption file in here that was actually used to create that security certificate. And you'll see if we switch back that process is now done. It now has a little green circle next to these two items, and it says Auto SSL domain validated. And so that's where that is where we are now. We've actually now passed the SSL status. So while we're in the FTP folder, we're going to create our file, and the default file for a website is actually index.html, but we're on a PHP server, so we might as well call it index.php. If it was Cold Fusion, it would be .cfm. Let's see. So we'll just do new file. We're going to call it index.php. And I'm actually going to go to ChatGPT now, and I'm going to create a new chat. And in here we're going to say, I'm creating a new website with a simple Hello World page. And I'd like you to write the code for the default landing page. And then we just hit return and check this out. So it gives us it talks to us a little bit. And then look at that, it's actually writing the code for this initial page. So this is the code, and you can go up here and click the copy code, and now we can go back to our FTP program. I'm going to double click on this file, which will open the editor, where I can now paste that code, and then I'm going to save the file, which updates the file in the FTP program. And now I can go, now that file is on our web server. Now I can open a new tab in my browser, and I'm going to type in HTTPS. And I'm going to type in, let's see, venturamusic.org. And let's see what happens. And there's the Hello World file. So you've literally just created a domain. We've done all of this in less than 25 minutes. We purchased a brand new domain. We created an email address. We set up the hosting. We got the SSL certificate, and we added our first web page and uploaded it, went to the browser, and it's live. Isn't that awesome? I'll see you for AI Friday tomorrow. Thanks.